Hello, my name is William Bradley, and today I'm going to be discussing my individual engineering essay that I made back when I was a freshman in 2017 in college. So this essay is about doing an engineering interview with a real engineer, and this also influenced me to keep going in engineering school and to actually become an engineer now today. So I'm going to proceed with my essay. I'm fortunate to have a family member who is in the engineering field. I interviewed my cousin David Amos. We are first cousins, and his mother and my dad are siblings. During high school, David participated in track and field. He ran the 100 meter, 200 meter, and the 4x100 meter relays. His favorite Olympic moment is watching all things track, especially the sprinting events. David attended the University of Cincinnati from 2001 to 2009. He began as a mechanical engineer major in the College of Engineering. He transferred from the College of Engineering to the Applied Sciences his sophomore year, majoring in mechanical engineering technology. He received his Bachelor of Science degree in 2009. David transferred from the programs because they had heavy calculus and math-based classes that did not suit him well. At this time, he had no advanced degrees. However, David did receive a certificate in project management when employed at his first job out of undergraduate school. He said, "If I were to pursue an advanced degree, it would be a Master of Business Administration, or MBA, as it's usually called." In his first job after graduating from undergraduate school, David gained experience working in an engineering firm. The engineering firm provided independent expertise in engineering, science, and work related to the government, industry development, and every kind of technical specialty. David is currently employed by Parker Hannifin Corporation in the Parflex Division headquarters located in Ravenna, Ohio. He worked for his company for 5 years. His current job is the second job he has had since graduating from the University of Cincinnati. Parker Hannifin is a Cleveland-based corporation founded in 1926. The corporation performs over $10 billion in sales and revenue and has 50,000 employees. It is number 251 on the Forbes Fortune 500 list. The division where David works was founded in 1970s and is based around thermoplastic tubing and hose products. His division performs over $200 million in annual sales. David works on the new product commercialization team. In that job, he takes ideas from concept to production with the goal of growing sales. In his job as a new product engineer, David told me that he has outward-facing responsibilities. This means that his direct interaction with customers, suppliers, and vendors. This is in addition to his inward-facing responsibilities to his peers and management. His role is unique in this aspect. It has given him the opportunity to work with large engine manufacturers like Cat and Cummins. Because his products are in the infancy, he wears many hats: design engineer, manufacturing engineer, operations, quality, supply chain, sales, and project management. During our conversation, I asked David to define the purpose of an engineer. He said, "An engineer's main job is to solve problems. And during your time in school, you'll learn to use a variety of tools to solve problems. Many of the tools are in math and science, but writing and communication are important too." He continued by saying that engineers often work with technology. Technology is another tool used by engineers to develop solutions to problems and to make changes to future and existing products. In his current position, David works with a team of engineers who have the same goal of solving problems and creating growth opportunities for the company. Although he's an engineer, he does not solve these problems alone, but he communicates with others and he uses many resources. An engineering degree is a great degree to have because it can lead you to a wide variety of careers. David said, "Being that I majored in mechanical engineering, I am somewhat partial. However, I think mechanical engineering covers a broad spectrum of jobs which can lead to careers in many industries and offers opportunities in many roles, including design, operation, manufacturing, sales, quality, IT, and everything in between. It is a tough major, but in the end, it is very rewarding." He went on to say that in addition to the typical math and science, an engineer should have a creative mind and good organizational skills and time management skills. Although David spends 20 to 30% of his time alone, he regularly collaborates with his engineers and departments within the company. Often, David is in contact with a wide variety of departments within the sales, customer service, and shipping. Additionally, he works with cross-functional teams called high-performance work team. He said the corporation understands the value in having many different minds working together when solving a problem. David explained he does much more writing and typing and presenting than he can ever imagine that would be required as an engineer. He writes reports and works instruction and gives presentations to peers and management. Interestingly, he has not used calculus since college. That is not to say math is not important, but most of his tasks do not involve math equations. He said, remember, it is more important to know how and where to find the method of solving a problem. You won't be expected to immediately remember specific equations. When I asked him the question, is Baldwin Wallace football and women's basketball team going to win the championship this year? He said, man, I root for the Bearcats or Buckeyes. In his role as a product engineer, David worked directly with many customers and suppliers. They have mutual non-disclosure agreements that have been upheld, and he has to be sure not to share any proprietary information. He's always learning new things about his industry, as well as working to develop new concepts. In addition, he takes out time to advance himself professionally and has learned new skills like project management, principles of Six Sigma, principles of lean, and designing for manufacturers. He said, I wish when I was in college as a freshman that someone would have told me that engineering was much more than math and science. Just because you don't excel in those areas don't mean that you're not cut out to be an engineer, and I can attest to that. David liked his engineering job. However, it is tough to balance personally, he said. The tough part occurs during the 50-minute drive one way to work and 50-minute drive back to home. With such long of a commute, he says he loses out on time at home when he clocks out of work at the end of the day and has to leave to travel home. He tries very hard to leave his job and home at home. However, he often receives email messages during the day when he's at home, but he's very selective when replying to emails. He's a family man with a wife and 2 small children. Since he has weekends off, he tries to spend as much of his time as possible with his family. In addition, he has been able to do cool things like take his family along with him when he travels for work. For example, his family accompanied him to Chicago. When David discussed his job, he mentioned he worked on various types of products. An interesting topic of discussion was about his dealings with a trucking company that uses equipment using diesel engines. During one of his development projects, he created a heated insulation wrap for tubing. This was part of the design process was to source components that could survive in negative 40 degree below weather. These components would eventually go on trucks and equipment in the Arctic weather. The operation of the product is vital because a failure could cause an engine to shut down. The people who operate trucks and equipment do not shut down the engines in extreme conditions. They fear if they were to turn off the trucks, potentially the truck would not come back on. This presents a hazardous issue because they could potentially freeze to death in Arctic conditions. The truckers could die from hypothermia. He shared with me that during the product design process, a patent review had to be completed. At this point, professional ethics becomes very important. Working with his legal team, he had to make sure his product did not infringe on the patents of his competitors. The competitors have certain patented engineering design and processes that could result in litigation if used unknowingly. My cousin David explained to me that he avoided a potential legal issue by designing the components with an additional heating capability. He had to wrap more wiring around the same important components to generate more heat to thaw in negative 40 degree climate. When David made his design changes, he did not first start off experimenting. Using a 3-dimensional modeling program called AutoCAD Inventor, he sketched up his design concept. After designing the concept, he had samples made and built prototypes. In his company's mechanical test lab, he was able to experiment with the prototype, see if the new design would thaw from the required time. In the lab, he utilized a freezer power supply, multimeter, thermocouples, and data logger. His objective was to make sure that the design effectively thawed within the customer's 40-minute time limit, starting from -40 degrees below zero. The initial experiments did not go as planned, as he analyzed the data to find what things needed to be adjusted. The testing and analyzing process took multiple iterations to perfect. He said this was very typical. After honing the design in, he made pre-production samples for the customers to complete their own tests. He found out recently that the customer testing is going well and mirroring the tests he performed. Another important aspect of the job I asked him about was his ability to work in groups. He specifically told me that an engineer working in groups is critical to success. Learning to work with your peers is a great skill to learn in college. He said your chances for successfully solving complex problems are increased when working together. By pulling all the knowledge and experiences from other members of a team, you can effectively develop the right solution for the problem. In the workforce, companies typically don't want all the responsibility of a major decision to be on one person. After interviewing him, I asked my cousin David more questions regarding his job overall. I asked him if his job was stressful at all. He explained by saying his job is stressful at times, especially when working on multiple projects at once. Sometimes he has made one project more a priority than the others. He manages his other projects as well. The aspect that gets stressful at times is when he has to travel on company business in addition to working on a project. When David goes out for traveling, he usually finds out what materials or parts he has to think about fixing or improving the quality so that the parts run more efficiently. I asked him more in detail about traveling, and he has told me the company pays for my flight, hotel, and some of my meals if the trip involves a particularly special meeting with other engineers. After a business trip ends, the company may allow him extra time off before he has to return back to work. When he has his extra time, he usually treats himself as a normal trip and will stay in the area for an extra day or two. Since I'm learning how to use Microsoft Excel, I asked David questions about his experience using the spreadsheet software. He told me it is a key tool that he uses in his job every day. He said it's essential to learn Microsoft Excel for engineering because I'm constantly working with data and graphs. He uses Excel during presentations to show how some things are changing over time. He said he explains the graphs to others who sometimes do not have an engineering background, particularly salespeople. He explained that the products he helps design need to be explained to salespeople so that they are able to understand what they are selling. This is why being able to explain the data and charts is important during presentations. Another comment he made about Excel is how he is surprised that I'm learning how to use Excel very early in my engineering career. He says you will be better prepared for the workforce than I was because he only started learning Excel his senior year of undergraduate school. He told me he probably did not learn it because the program was relatively new at the time. In this interview, I learned that an engineering degree is a great degree to have because it can lead you to a variety of careers. It is a tough major, but in the end, it is very rewarding. I found that math and science are not always used in David's line of work, and he has not used calculus since college. In closing, it would be very valuable to learn more details about the project Dave manages, especially since the one project he has shared with me about the trucks has helped me to see how engineering can be used to solve a customer problem. I intend to stay in contact with David during my time in undergraduate school, and I plan to find out if his company has summer internships. Also, I went to Baldwin Wallace University, and this is kind of the course curriculum that I had to follow when I was in engineering school. And thank you for watching this video.
Please just drop a like.